Hello, today is a new review for the third chapter of Total War Warhammer. The Total War Warhammer series has long been familiar to fans of strategy games, and the third part of the series is rightfully considered one of the most anticipated games of this year. Yes, the Sega is clearly counting on the success of Total War Warhammer 3, investing in a huge amount of resources and effort. Despite being a fan of the desktop Warhammer, I did not have particularly high expectation from the third part of Total War Warhammer. I expected work on the bugs and the release of the same good game for the third time, and by the way, lowering the initial expectations is a useful thing. We have already played in this game, tried all sides of conflict, and went through the main story dedicated to the Bear of God Ursun. In short, this is exactly what everyone was waiting for. The third part turned out to a big and cool game. This is incredible fun to play, but still with nuances that I want to talk about and warn all those who are waiting for a new product based on the fantasy battle settings. As in the previous part, in Total War Warhammer 3 the developers paid the lion's share of their attention to the story campaign, the essence of which is simple. You need to get to the Bear God Ursun and put your hands on him, or tentacle-like appendages depending on what gift Tzeentch gave you. Each faction has views on the soul of Kislev deity, but it's impossible to get into the dimension of chaos just like that, and therefore the person already familiar from the previous parts of the Total War series will come to the aid of the player, the same advisors that helped us in the first and second parts. Grandfather, as the Russian-speaking community affectionately calls him, as a mysterious grimoire capable of opening portals to the realm of chaos, and kindly invites the player to use his services. The main innovation of Total War Warhammer 3, of course, are the new parties of the conflict: Kislev, Great Katai, the Ogre Kingdom, and 5 demonic factions. Each of the parties to the conflict has its own characteristics and gives the player a unique gaming experience. Is it possible to describe the difference of one so-called race from another for a long time? But I, perhaps, will leave this aspect to dear readers for independent study and only superficially touch on some of key features of the factions. Chaos in the main force of the Warhammer universe received as many as 5 factions: Horn, Tzeentch, Nargul, Slaanesh, and House Indivisible. If everything is more or less clear with the first 4, then it is worth dwelling on the last point in more detail. Invisible Chaos is a faction that managed to combine the most delicious gifts of the Dark Gods without favoring any particular lord. The player himself decides which of the gods of chaos on one time or another to present the next captured settlements, thereby forming his own path of development. And the ability to customize the controlled Demon Prince is a separate entertainment. You can literally change the equipment of your hero on the fly and try something new in every battle. If you like your Demon Prince, you will cast spells left and right the most skilled champion of Tzeentch, or you can become a furious war machine, supplying blood and skulls to your new what good. In terms of scale, Total Warhammer 3 is truly the biggest installment in the spin-off series. At launch, players had not 4, but as many as 7 factions, and this is not counting the ogres, which can be obtained by pre-ordering or purchasing DLC. The factions of Total Warhammer 3, like the previous parts, are the main pearl of this series, and in the third part they turned out to be especially diverse and interesting. It is impossible to briefly describe what each of them is good for. You will have to dwell on 8 starting sites in the conflict in more detail. Total War Warhammer 3 is undoubtedly one of the main strategies of this year, the triumphant conclusion of the grandiose trilogy. A grand finale, radically different and completely new factions mechanics, epic battles, and fixing many bugs that darkened the gaming experience in previous part. Of course, poor optimization and minor gameplay problems spoil this experience. However, There is nothing among them that cannot be fixed with updates, so if it's worth thinking about pre-ordering or buying on release, then with the updates on content additions, the game is definitely worth to try for all fans of strategies, Total War Warhammer, fantasy battle settings, especially when you consider how much more lies ahead of them, namely a global map of the entire old world and almost dozen of the remaining factions that have not yet found their place in the game: Halflingins, Chaos Dwarves, Arabia, Borderlands, Albion, and many others. Thank you guys, bye bye.